Hello, everyone, from my Moomin teacup and my very dark bedroom because it is the official start of Changma, which is the rainy monsoon season here in Seoul. And I feel like I don't mind the rain of it all. Like, that's fine. Atmospheric, lovely. It's just so dark. So I ended up sleeping like really late because the sun just never came up to wake me up. Yeah, it's a rough time. Perfect to just stay inside and chat about books. So even though I am quite a bit late, I'm gonna do the mid-year freakout tag. How does that sound? And I had a really weird time putting this together. The questions are linked down below. I do the same ones every year. I believe I got these from Cindy, who got them. I actually don't know where the tag originated from. If you do know the creator, because this has been going on for like a decade, let me know. I just grabbed it from, pretty sure, Cindy years and years ago. Yeah, it was interesting going over these questions because I feel like I've had a good reading year, but I kind of struggled with a lot of these questions. I feel like a lot of books that I read were good, but they were kind of just like, I know that mid is often used as an insult, but I feel like a lot of books were just like satisfying, did the job, I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this, or oh my God, I hate this for most of them. Don't worry. I have hate in my heart and I have love in my heart. But yeah, it was just interesting, especially the questions about like a book that made me cry, a book that made me happy. I normally can point immediately to one, and I actually had to kind of think about it. So that being said, let's just dive in. You can't really see it, but I've got a pumpkin spice candle going. I've got a peppermint tea. I've got hot, rainy summer outside. I don't know. I'm just confusing myself. Let's dive in. And once again, let me not spill my tea. Oh my God. There you go. Once again, a disclaimer for all of my books. This is how I feel right now. If I gave myself like 5 more minutes to think about these questions, I would have different answers. By the time that I edit this and put this up, I might feel differently about books. So this is a time capsule, as always. In we go. So the first question is the best book I've read so far in 2026. And this is where I was kind of like, oh, I read a lot of good books, but it's quite difficult for me to pick an absolute favorite. So I'm going to start with ones that I think are going to stick with me. Which the first one, I'm going kind of by order in which I read them. The first one is Small Boat. I think that this one's going to stick with me because the subject matter, and specifically the subject paired with the narrator, is just going to kind of haunt me. Small Boat is about a boat full of refugees trying to get from France to England, and they encounter an emergency and they call for help and no one comes to help them. And we're following one of the emergency responders on the French side. She is an infuriating narrator, but she makes you kind of turn and look at yourself as well, with some of the questions that she brings up about like who is responsible for so many, not just this particular disaster, but like so many different disasters when it comes to whether it is dealing with refugees, whether it's dealing with so many other things. And so it was a frustrating read. It was a really sad read. But I think that I love a book that makes me question myself and my values, and yeah, that's just one that's gonna haunt me. So maybe not the best book I read, but certainly one that will stand the test of time. Next up is Clear. This is another short book. I was watching an interview with Maggie O'Farrell, who wrote Hamnet, and she recommended this one. It is a short little book about the Shetland Islands and one man who is tasked with going to this particular island to tell the inhabitant, singular, that he needs to get off the land. Basically, the land owner is getting rid of all of the inhabitants of the Shetland Islands so that he can just like put a ton of sheep there and he doesn't have to deal with, the upkeep of the island or anything, taking care of these people, right? So this one man is tasked with getting this guy off of an island, and there is a language barrier. It's just like a really sweet relationship. Also, I just thought that the writing style in terms of how the nature is described and how each character is so distinct and you just root for them so much, even though this book was really short. So I think if you are okay with like a very slow moving, kind of subtle story, but with characters that are really going to stick with you, I was surprised by this one, I think is why it sticks out so much. That is clear. Highly recommend. I also want to give a shout out to All the Sinners Bleed, because I recently started trying every month to read a thriller with you guys, and I have read crappy thrillers. I used to think, it's so weird because I love thrillers. Why have I only been reading crappy ones recently? I feel like I haven't read a good thriller in a while until S.A. Cosby came in and saved the day with All the Sinners Bleed. This one, I love it when you're reading a book and you can just like see the film. Like it truly, if he ever wanted to make any of his books into television, into a film, he will not have a difficult time adapting it, because the way that he writes is just so visual. I could see it, I could hear it. The way that every scene was set up, it truly, if he hasn't already, he should try writing a screenplay, because yeah, it just read so well. That being said, incredibly dark. This was a thriller that like I was glad I didn't live react to, because a lot of these things I just like had to kind of deal with privately. I didn't want to be like reacting to them. This was a hard-hitting thriller, but I really loved it. So I think that it might not be my best book of 2026, but I think that it reminded me that I do in fact like thrillers if they're written well, which unfortunately there's like has not been what I have experienced for a while. So yeah, All the Sinners Bleed. Thank you for renewing my faith in the thriller genre. And then two more. These I would say are actual contenders for my favorite books of the year. And that is, first off, Children of Men and Fighting Gods. Jesus, now I don't even know the name of it. Hold on. Children of Gods and Fighting Men, excuse me. This entire series, I literally 2 days ago finished the trilogy. Oh my goodness, I've talked about it already. I'm so sorry if you're done hearing about it. But this is historical fiction mixed with mythology, Irish history in the 10th and 11th century mixed with Irish mythology. And it is, oh my God, it was so good. So it's a trilogy. There are little novellas in between that I haven't read. And then there's a continuation series that is like the next generation. We're following characters from the first trilogy in the next one. Okay. So I don't know what else there is to say that I haven't already said. The mixture of historical fiction and mythology is done so well. I feel like I'm learning an equal amount of both of these things, and don't do this ahead of time. Don't ruin things. But if you actually go and look up the mortal characters, they are real. And I feel like she didn't, other than she created personalities for them that we don't know that they had. In terms of like factually what they did, the battles that they won, the laws that they put into place, etc., those were all pretty accurate. So I felt like she just did a really wonderful job of mixing both. I compared the writing a lot to Juliette Marie in terms of like Daughter of the Forest, and how that series moves so slowly, but it also like covers large swaths of time. Like the fact that from book 1 to book 2 in Daughter of the Forest, we follow our main character as she is a teenager all the way until she is a mother with multiple children, etc. Like she's lived a full life. We kind of get that with all of these characters as well. And I just loved that entire journey. The fact that each one of these books was 500 plus, I think the last one is 600 plus pages, and I would eat them up in like 2 days. These were so readable. It's crazy that the cast of characters was as large as it was, and I didn't get lost. She really did a wonderful job of keeping all of that. It was just really easy for me to follow, even when I read the first 2 books, and then at the library, I had quite a long wait for the 3rd book. From the first 2 books, a couple weeks later, reading the 3rd one, I was able to jump in and still remember all of the characters. And that's not super common for me. That's why I tend to either reread a series before I go into the next book or things like that. I think she just did a wonderful job. Like, no notes. I think that the last book in the series, a lot happened, and I was kind of aware that certain things were clearly just leading into the next trilogy, so we don't actually get like every story wrapped up. And yeah, I felt like the ending of the last one was like a little chaotic and a lot happened. But that being said, that trilogy so far, I would say my favorite read of the year. Like, I felt consumed by it in the best way. That is Children of Men and Children of God and Fighting Men. The series name is Gale Song by Shauna Lawless. And then my most recent read that is absolutely a favorite of the month, and I think is going to hold on to be a favorite of the year, is Of Monsters and Mainframes. This, I went into it knowing pretty much nothing, and I had the best time. I think it just had a combination of all the things that I love. I love a sentient object. I love a character that doesn't act like a human because it isn't a human. I love space. I love corruption. I find that, I think maybe it was with Isako, the last contract of Isako, that I realized I actually really like not only political intrigue, but like the inner workings of a corporation, corporate intrigue, because in Of Monsters and Mainframes, there's also a bit of that. Basically, Of Monsters and Mainframes, we are following a spaceship who is tasked with carrying humans from Earth to another planet many, many light years away. And she runs into a problem where she arrives at their destination and then she realizes that all of her passengers are dead. And the craziest thing, this isn't a spoiler, the person who might be behind it may or may not be Dracula. And when I saw that, I was like, where is this going? This was so fun, honestly. Not only is the spaceship character really wonderful, she also has a on-deck AI doctor assistant character that's so funny. We have a few humans. We have, just every time a new character was introduced, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was always like, and then it would be, I'd love it. We are just following her as she is trying to convince people that she's not crazy, that she's not a malfunctioning piece of software, but that someone is actively trying to kill her passengers, not once, but twice, maybe even 3 times. And she's constantly at risk of being like optimized or being scrapped and all of this stuff. Yeah, I feel like 90% of the characters were not human, and it just made for really fun banter and world building that she was able to do. And I just had a really good time. So that is Of Monsters and Mainframes. This author is also, I don't know if it's this year, maybe next year, coming out with another book that I will absolutely be reading. It was just like a kooky combination of things that worked. And it's a standalone, and I think it was pretty short even. I think it was like 200 something pages. Yeah, just a ton of fun. So Of Monsters and Mainframes, if you're looking for like fun sci-fi that also will make you cry, by the way, it's not just a cozy time. There you go. Of Monsters and Mainframes. Next up, really quick, because I already basically talked about it, the best sequel you've read so far in 2026. I've actually only read one sequel, and that was The Words of Kings and Prophets, which is the 2nd book in the Gale Song trilogy. I'm not going to go into it again, but it was great. Fabulous. In fact, that's the only sequel I've got for you. So question number 2, super easy. Oh my God. Okay. New releases you haven't read yet but want to. So I have a whole video of anticipated, specifically fantasy and sci-fi releases for 2026. It's crazy how I filmed that, I think in January. So many more have been released. So I've got a ton that I'm anticipating. But in terms of books that are already out and I need to read them, it's not out. It will actually be out in a few days. By the time this is published, it will be out, and I need to read Fishbone, Cinderella, I Love Elizabeth Lim, so much. And this is not only fantasy by her, because Elizabeth Lim does incredible fairy tale retellings. Her fantasy is so luscious and like unlike any other writer, I feel. So love that. But Fishbone Cinderella specifically is also going to be historical in some way. Actually, let me tell you about it. Let me just tell you about it. And I know some people who have read it and have been destroyed. It's sitting at a 4.5 rating, which is crazy. So yes, we are in China in the 1940s when our character narrowly escapes Japanese soldiers by turning invisible, and she discovers that she has magic and shit hits the fan, let's just say. And then after the war, she's in Hong Kong. Why does that look like San Francisco? Anyway, the Cinderella aspect of it is that she has a magical bracelet of protection that she loses, and a boy who she like collided with on a bicycle finds it, and their destinies intertwine, and it takes them through the 40s, the 50s, who knows how long, I don't know, but I am so excited. So yeah, Fishbone Cinderella is at the absolute top of my list. It's coming out next week, but also one that you guys won't stop hounding me about. Yes, I already have it. I pre-ordered this book. It is in my possession. I just haven't read This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. I really enjoy this author. Fun fact, this author is actually a married couple, which I love. I have read 2 or 3 books by this author and had a really, really great time. However, weirdly enough, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me, I read the first chapter and I wasn't into it. And I think it was possibly a timing thing. It was one of those things where I was like reading it the day it came out. I was just so excited. So I read the first chapter and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it down, because if I had pushed through after not vibing with it, I think that would have just continued through the entire reading experience. I need to like be in a place where I have the time to just enjoy, because I know I love this author's writing, and everyone I know who has similar tastes to me has loved it. I think I just had really high expectations and I was going into it with way too much energy, and I need to like let that simmer down. But that will be read this year, mark my words. So everybody commenting, asking about it, I know. It will be read. This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. Thank you. Okay, most anticipated releases for the second half of this year. What a year. What a year this is, especially for the comebacks of some of my favorite authors. So number 1 most anticipated, Deadbeat by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 3rd book in the 9th House Hellbent series. Cannot wait. I'm so excited. I think it's coming out in autumn. So excited to do a reread and have that series just consume my life for like a month. Absolutely. Next up is the craziest book that's coming out this year. The first book of the Wicked Powers series, Cassandra Clare. This is the last series in her Shadowhunter world, and the way that she talks about it, I'm avoiding spoilers, but the way that she talks about Wicked Powers, I genuinely think that like Shadowhunters aren't going to exist anymore. Like, I think not only is this the end of the Shadowhunter world as the book series, I think something's gonna happen to the Shadowhunters. Like, I'm very scared. The way she's talking about it is making me so nervous for everyone involved. I genuinely have no idea how she's gonna wrap this up, and I will be riveted for the next 3 years or however long it's gonna take her to finish this trilogy. I will be annoying about it. I will be weird. I will not be normal. The first book of the Wicked Power series, October, dead. Another one I'm looking forward to is Tempest by Victoria Aveyard. I didn't like Red Queen, and I think I didn't like the plot of Red Queen, but I enjoyed the writing style. It felt very of its time, very 2010s, just like readable YA. The fact that I like remember large swaths of the plot and the characters is like a testament to the writing, for better or for worse. And so I'm interested in her adult fantasy romance, and it's also pirates. So come at me, Tempest, all right? And then to get us away from fantasy, Emily, is it St. John Mandel or St. John Mandel? Anyway, the author of Station 11 is coming out with Exit Party, and I have eaten up all of her books. So I'm very, very excited for that one. I'm so sorry. I have a ton that I'm actually excited for. Oh, Scott Hawkins, the author of Library at Mount Char, is coming out with his next book, which is crazy. And also the subject matter seems bananas. We're following a wolf whose like lover mate is a domesticated dog that gets killed. And so he goes on this like revenge quest against humans. I don't know, but apparently it's getting amazing reviews. And Scott Hawkins has done weird and done well with weird with Library at Mount Char. So I'm tentatively excited about that one. I also have, let me look this up because I remember this plot actually made me laugh out loud. Hold on. This is a debut. It's called The True Confessions of the First Lady Freeman, and it is about the wife of a popular and powerful megachurch pastor upends her charmed rags to Rolex life when her secret past comes roaring into the spotlight. I'm pretty sure there's like a beauty pageant. It's like a beauty pageant for pastors' wives. It just looks bananas, and I've heard really good things, and I am really looking forward to that. I love like a weird churchy tale. Also, as I was writing down this list, I was looking at my tags in Libby. So fun fact, if you have books that you are looking forward to, go to Libby. You can tag them, like notify me when your library makes that available. And I have this book tagged, and I don't know how I found this or why, but it's coming out in September. It's called The Court of Venus by Belle Banta, and it is set, oh yeah, that's why. That's why I tagged it, because it is set in a fantasy world inspired by Tudor England and the real astrologers who advised kings. This is a debut. It is a historical fantasy novel about rival magicians. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm reading this. I'm very excited. That is The Court of Venus. I don't know where I saw that. I think I maybe was just looking up like what's coming out this year, and I saw magic and Tudor England and astrology, and I said yes please. So yeah, looking forward to that big time. I also have Bad Words coming out in October. This, I have some friends who read the ARC and adored it. It's also blurbed by Emily Henry. It's basically about a author and their nemesis, a literary critic, and I love books about books, and apparently this is fantastic, and it is both incisive and tender. Bad Words lays bare the cost of creation, the pull between ambition and integrity, the vulnerability of being seen, and the unexpected closeness that can grow in the space between critique and care. Yup. Yeah, I've heard fabulous things. And then last but not least, To Dream in Darkness. I really loved, is it To See the Sun? If You Could See the Sun. Really enjoyed that. So this is a like dark fantasy, historical, romance, all the things. It's all the things. We are in China, where gods freely wander the three realms. There is a century-old curse. We're making alliances with death. I don't even want to know too much about it, but I just am also looking forward to that, which is also coming out in October. October is going to be fabulous. So yeah, I have so many that I'm looking forward to. Again, you can watch my anticipated releases for the fantasy and sci-fi books. But yeah, I can't wait. I feel like autumn is going to be insane. You won't hear from me. I'll just be in my little reading hole, and I'll be happy there. So if I go MIA, don't worry. Next up, now that I got so excited talking about books, I'm going to get really sad. My biggest disappointments, and I have two that are pretty big. Number one being Starshipped by Cat Sebastian, which is crazy because Cat Sebastian is consistently on my list of favorite books of the year. After Hours at Dooryard Books last year was on my favorites. You Should Be So Lucky. Oh my God. All of her historical romances. So good. So this one, it was just unfortunate. So Starshipped it's contemporary also, I think, maybe was an issue, but we are following co-stars of this kind of shitty but beloved sci-fi show. They've been co-workers but not friends for years, and a bunch of different turns of events leads them to kind of faking a friendship for publicity and realizing, oh wait, I actually really like the other person. And it's kind of like It's vaguely like a road trip. There was just like a lot going on, right? We had this kind of not enemies, but like unfriendly coworkers to lovers situation, but there's weirdly like a road trip involved. And then we're like in New York for a lot of it. There's a dog that was probably my favorite character. It just, I think that what I love about Cat Sebastian is that she's able to give all of her characters something very complex to work through. But in this book, it felt like specifically like the mental health that we were dealing with was the focus, and the romance was kind of secondary, which is fine. But I actually didn't like any of the characters. I also felt like a lot of the work was put into one character, and then the other one, I honestly couldn't tell you anything about him except that he's like big. Yeah, it just really fell flat for me, unfortunately. And I believe I didn't even finish it. I got really far and I was just like, I'm not having a good time. And that's crazy for me because Cat Sebastian is my number one. I'm obsessed. So yeah, Starship just didn't do it for me. And that was very, very disappointing. But that's literally my first and only out of like 10. I don't know how many I've read by Cat Sebastian, but there's got to be one you don't connect with. And there it is, Starshipped. Next up is The Thief and the Traitor Bride, which is coming out in September, I believe. I got an arc of it. This mainly, I'm going to be real, a lot of it had to do with me. A lot of it had to do with my personal taste and also my shitty memory, because this is a book that follows the second death of Locke, which I really, really enjoyed. And it's marketed as being a book that is within the same world, but very separate. And I do not think that that is fair. This really, really relies on the world building that has already happened in the second death of Locke. And it also heavily relies on the ending and a lot of the characters at the end of the death of Locke. I only read, even though I loved it, I only read the second death of Locke once, and a year or two ago when it first came out. So my memory of how the magic works and everything like that was minimal. So going into The Thief and the Traitor Bride, we not only had to have that foundation of everything that happened in the second death of Locke, but then she built on it on like a massive scale that I don't think was explained particularly well. That was one problem. And then second, this is a second chance romance. I'm gonna be real, I don't love a second chance romance. So we're following a married couple that has betrayed. They've betrayed each other. They don't speak anymore, but they need to work together to go on this one mission. So first of all, second chance romances just I don't jive with those in general, but also we didn't learn about what the betrayal was for more than half of the book. I DNF'd it at like 45%, and even then we really weren't sure what happened. We were like given crumbs of hints for what happened without actually knowing. It was very difficult to understand, like, why are they being so mean to each other? We only have their flashbacks to their love story. It just felt a little childish. These were also supposed to be people who are in their 30s. They didn't really feel like they were in their 30s, especially our main character. So it was just frustrating because the setup was good. I love this author's writing style. I like the world, even though I kind of didn't understand it for the second book. It just, I wanted so badly to love it. And that cover, so yeah, a disappointment, but really like give it a go for sure. A lot of it was like taste issues, but The Thief and the Traitor Bride, a disappointment indeed. But next question, biggest surprises. I would say one of my biggest surprises was Minbok by Ella Lee. It was a surprise because it wasn't on my radar. This was a book that a friend read and was like, I think you would like it, and gave me her copy. Thank you, Henny. It was really good. This is a work of historical fiction following a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. It's taking place in Incheon, Korea in the 80s. It's taking place in London in 2008 during like the housing crisis and everything. And we just follow women who are thrown into very different situations, but they kind of deal with it all in the same way. And I just thought that the writing was great. I thought that all of the characters were explored in a really wonderful way, and it made me angry. Like my friend and I, when I met up with her after I finished the book to talk about it, we were just pissed off. And so like not at the book, but at certain characters. And there's sort of a reveal at the end, like one of the main things this book is about that I know a lot of people in my life are personally affected by, so it was really interesting to read about it. And yeah, Minbok was a big surprise just because it was just handed to me. It literally fell into my lap. And I had no expectations, no previous knowledge of it. And it was definitely one of my favorites of the month that I read it in. And highly recommend if you love historical fiction and especially are interested in Korean history, Minbok by Ella Lee. Next up, favorite new author. Am I annoying you yet talking about Gale Song? I gotta say, Shauna Lawless. I really, really enjoyed her writing. It's just so good. Like, so good. Okay, so she wrote Gale Song, The Children of Gods and Fighting Men. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Shauna Lawless, love her. I also will say that I finally read my second book by Jeannie Lin. I think she's now added to my go-to favorite for historical romances. I loved The Lotus Palace. Oh my God, I loved The Lotus Palace. And then earlier this year, I read Butterfly Swords. She just writes a good historical romance. I don't know what else to say. Butterfly Swords was weaker than The Lotus Palace, I will say. But yeah, added to the list of auto-buy historical romance writers. Thank you, Jeannie. Next up, newest fictional crush. I actually had a difficult time thinking about this. I will say maybe the main character from Slow Gods. I really loved this book. And we're kind of following our main character who, for reasons unknown, like does not die and is kind of around for centuries to see planets and civilizations rise and fall. And yeah, I felt really connected to that character. I really enjoyed being with them for so long. And yeah, I feel like I got a little crush. That is from Slow Gods. And then weirdly enough, this isn't a book that made my list of favorites because I think I had a lot of issues with it. This was definitely more vibes than plot based, which I tend to like something that is a little bit more like I struggle to even tell you what the book is about. The book is a stage set for villains. And what really kept me going with this book was Jude, our main male character, because he reminded me so much of Jax from Once Upon a Broken Heart. I love it when there's a character who is set up so clearly to be an enemy and like our main character believes them so strongly to be an enemy and they are clearly not. Like this, like Jude is always like, girl, I'm not lying to you. I'm not trying to hurt you. Like, please, if we just work together and we communicate, like we could be friends. This is like, I'm trying to be nice. And the other main character is just like not having it. I love that. I love a character who is like very open about the fact that like, I'm a good guy, but no one believes them. Something about that. And also he was just kind of funny and sassy and a little bit narcissistic. So that's Jude from A Stage Set for Villains. Like truly the only reason I was able to finish that book. There you go. I've got a crush on you, Jude. Okay, we continue. It's everybody's lunch break right now, so it's a little noisy. I think everyone has settled down outside. Last couple questions. My newest favorite characters. I forget her name, but I loved the sister character in The Swan's Daughter, which was also just a fun time. That was just like a simple, lovely, whimsical fantasy. But I remember underlining so many lines by the sister character because it's one of those side characters that is like unhinged. Her brother is the prince in this story. And so anytime the prince is like, what course of action should I take? The sister is like, I could kill them for you. You know, like she's always got a plan of like, I'm going to kidnap you. I'm going to make you fake your death. Maybe I really will kill you. Like her plans were just so diabolical all the time. She was comedic relief. I really enjoyed the sister character of The Swan's Daughter. If you like a kind of, what do you even call that? Like the selection kind of vibe where there's like a marriage competition, but also a curse and also a deranged sister character. The Swan Daughter was just a fun time. I really enjoyed it. And the sister was a huge part in my enjoyment. Another one would be, not to continue to talk about, of Monsters and Mainframes, but I really enjoyed, there's a character named Frank, or maybe his full name, Frankenstein. So yeah, we have Dracula and Frankenstein, and that's not all. I just really liked Frank because their backstory is so interesting and they're just really emotionally attached to a particular spider robot. And that just really warmed my heart a lot of the time. So Frankenstein gets a shout out for sure. And then I also really liked Hester from Indigo. This is a Beverly Jenkins historical romance as usual, even though I didn't like the actual romance of it because it was very much like this kind of, not Casanova, but like this man who is very confident in his like abilities as a lover and this woman who like is innocent and doesn't really know things. I don't ever really like that dynamic, but I liked Hester as a person and like what she could do and her no nonsense. Like anytime somebody wanted to do something that she didn't want to happen, she was a brick wall. And I love a stubborn woman. So yeah, Hester gets a shout out from me. Indigo by Beverly Jenkins, another amazing historical romance writer. Get your hands on it. And now to the ones that I kind of struggled with. A book that made me cry. I do know that I cried in books, but I also cry really easily. So one that I cried and I think would make other people cry would be Almost Life. I read this really recently. It is just kind of like a doomed romance. It is a love story that spans decades and they are never in the right place at the right time to fall in love with each other again or like to pursue a actual relationship again. That was really rough and the way that it ended was a tearjerker and I was in public, which just made me cry more because I was trying to hold it in and that never works. So that is Almost Life if you want a very sad little romance that spans like I said, spans decades, bopping between England and France from the 70s. I think it's like 70s to the early 2010s. And it's just frustrating and sad, but I loved the writing style. I loved the characters. And you will maybe cry. There you go. And I also have to mention Lord of Shadows. I don't know if it shouldn't be up yet because I still have a lot of editing to do, but it will probably be up next week. The plot summary for Lord of Shadows. The way that I forgot everything that happened in that book and I was like ugly crying at the end. Buckle up. Okay. And then in terms of books that made me happy, the ones I immediately thought of were like the shitty books, the books that I read with you and I had a really good time being like, what is happening? So it wasn't necessarily the books that made me happy, but it was the experience of sharing it with you that made me happy. So those books set aside, I will say I had a lot of fun with Lord of Scoundrels, again with a historical romance. I love a romantic comedy, what can I say? And I will be getting on numerous long flights very soon. So hit me with them. Hit me with your favorite rom-coms, please. Ellie Hazelwood, where are you? I know you're a busy bee, but like, I need you, girl. Come back. Yeah, romance recommendations for a long plane ride down below, please. And thank you. What books do I need to read by the end of the year? I've got a ton. I will, within this week, I will have my hands on the arc of Taipei Story by R.F. Kuang and American Hagwon by Min Jin Lee. So excited for those. I'm also trying to get into books that I read in high school, and I want to read them. First of all, to just refresh my memory because I have forgotten the plots of 90% of them, but also just to like read them for fun again. So I actually got my hands on The Outsiders. I recently reread The Crucible. I didn't finish it, but I like flipped through The Crucible, which I remember really liking in high school. Things Fall Apart. I want to reread Train to Pakistan. Like there's just a lot of books that I kind of want to get into again. I also want to I have a bunch of Shirley Jackson that I have collected that I need to get through. I kind of want to do that as like a late summer read, maybe a Shirley September, who knows? But yeah, I'm trying not to make my TBR too crazy. I try not to think about it, but yeah, a lot of exciting books in the future. And then the last question, because I just realized I need to get up and go get them. Oh, I don't even have it with me. Oh my God. Okay, wait. I'll go get the one that I have. Okay, so the first one is actually, I don't have it, but it is the copy of Alphabet of Thorn by Patricia McKillop. I got it when I was in the US. I went to Love and Legends. It's a fantasy bookstore in Brooklyn. This was my first Patricia McKillop. The cover just called to me. I loved the book as well. I loved the story. And I loved it so much that I was very scared to put it in my carry-on luggage and bring it back to Korea when I know that like someday, hopefully within the next couple of years, I will be moving to the US. And I didn't like, it's constantly in the back of my mind. Every book that I buy, I'm like, I'm going to have to pack this or I'm going to have to give it away. So for that book, I was like, I'm going to leave it in the safety of my parents' home. It is in Pennsylvania. I don't have it, but I love that book so much. And then I also just really love this cover. I got Seasons of Glass and Iron. I loved The River Has Roots. As you know, I love This Is How You Lose the Time War. And I just really, you can't really tell, but the paper is so nice. Can you hear it? It's got like a little bit of grain to it. It just feels good in the hand. Yeah, this is just a collection of stories. This is by Tor. Tor Publishing always does a good job. So yeah, love that book. Haven't read it yet though. I've been like putting it off. Whenever I get a physical book, I tend to like really put it off because I have so many digital books coming through my library. But that is also a book that I need to read by the end of the year. So yeah, I don't know, like this year has been, like I said, good. Like I've read a lot of books that I've enjoyed, but it hasn't been like, they're all kind of difficult to talk about. I feel like a lot of the books I enjoyed also happened to do with like circumstance. So for example, the Silver Book, I enjoyed, but I enjoyed it specifically because I was on a solo trip. I just had a lot of alone time. If I had been reading this like throughout my work day, like right before bed, kind of things like that, I don't think I would have had the same experience. So I felt like that happened over and over again, where a book came to me at exactly the right time. I was in the perfect mood for it. So it's kind of difficult to talk about them because I know that they wouldn't hit for everyone the way that they hit for me at that moment. I don't know, man. But overall, I'm having a good reading year. I've been enjoying what I've been reading. Even the ones that are bad have been so bad that they've been a good time. And I cannot wait for this autumn. I'm gonna really have to, again, like I'm really working on trying not to rush through books, tempering my expectations, etc. But it's really difficult when Leigh Bardugo and Cassandra Clare are coming back. Have I read the Six of Crows like short story letter collection thing? No. That is what I'm going to get my hands on when I go to the US this autumn, or this August. I will be finding a physical copy, and that is another book that I think I want to leave in the US to be like safe. That's where like all of my just like beloved paperbacks are. My parents are very kind and they have like one bookshelf in the living room that is mine and is kept safe. So yeah, I will be getting my hands on that as well. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I know that it's like interactive. There's like some code cracking you've got to do. I don't know, but I want it. So yeah, that is my mid-year freakout tag. Mainly I'm just freaking out about Gale Song, and yeah, that's it. But again, let me know about some romances because I've got a ton of flights coming up. Also, I think I've got them all listed, but if you have any particular event or bookstore related thing that's happening in August in Seattle or San Francisco, please let me know. Also, I am having a meetup in Seattle and San Francisco. Information pending, so be sure to follow me on Instagram and I will try to update it here as well. But follow me on my Bookstagram, but also my main caricakes one. I'll be updating, and I'm having like polls in terms of picking the dates. So Seattle isn't set in stone yet. If it is, I will link it in the like a pinned comment. But for San Francisco, the time is not confirmed as of yet, but we will be having a meetup on August 9th at the Love Potion Library. This is a new bookstore / cafe that has opened. It's, I think, like in the Mission District. It's like almost Mission, almost Castro. They were kind enough to open up the space for us as well. So please come, just mingle with San Francisco bookish people, grab a coffee, grab a drink, grab a book, support a small indie bookstore that's brand new and it looks so fun, and they have so many fun events as well. So we're very, very lucky that we got a spot because they're busy. They've got something going every single day. So yeah, just thank you so much to the Love Potion Library for opening that space for us. So much love to the book community. So yeah, all of those updates, if you want to come out and just meet other bookish people, it's always really casual, literally just like we just show up and we talk. There's no like big event going on. I'll try and like maybe bring some goodies or, you know, try to have some conversation starters because I know that we're all introverts and it is scary to come to something like this, but it's just always so wonderful to see that, like, no matter, I've done this in multiple countries for years, and every single time it is like the most welcoming, lovely group of people. A lot of times people afterwards like go out, they like grab another cup of coffee or they go and grab dinner or something like that. It's been truly wonderful. I think I've done this in Vienna, in Prague, Dublin, we had a little park meetup, New York, San Diego, just like always so wonderful and welcoming. And so yeah, just very much looking forward to Seattle and San Francisco. And I also just booked another trip in December that maybe we'll be able to do some bookish things with, I don't know. So just overall, like all of that kind of like quick information about event planning, it's just much easier to do it on my Instagram. So you can check me out there. I've also got some cool announcements coming for the second half of the year that I'm nervous excited about, let's just say. So yeah, just thank you always. Another wonderful year. And yeah, looking forward to the next half. Also looking forward to, we had like a moment of sun as I was filming this, and now there is like a black rain cloud. So looking forward to the sun coming out again. A girl can dream. All right. So I will see you guys next time. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what I should be anticipating, what I should be putting on my TBR that I try not to think about. And yeah, what are your favorites, your least favorites, your biggest disappointments, etc. Let me know down below, and I will catch you guys hopefully next week. I've still got literally 3 hours left of footage to edit, and I'm doing like adding in all the memes and the zoom ins and the zoom outs for Lord of Shadows, so it takes me a really long time. So hopefully, pray for me, we will get Lord of Shadows next week. So see you when I see ya. Thank you always, and maybe catch you on the west coast of the US, okay? Bye.